All right, I think we can get started. My name is Jim Cashman. I'm a product manager, formerly at Ipswitch, now at Progress, since purchase just closed in the last 2 weeks. And I'm here to talk to you about one of our products, What's Up Gold, which is a network monitoring product that I think that you'll find is pretty exciting and does a lot of neat stuff. The title of the presentation is Checking Your Network and Applications Plumbing and Why You Need a Network Monitoring Solution. So I'm going to basically try to tell you why you need a network monitoring solution and then show you... It's on? Yeah. Am I not... Where's the level? There's the levels there.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear projecting.
No. Okay. And then show you just some basics of what the product does so you get a feel for what's possible and what it can do. So let's dive into why do you need a network monitoring tool. The basic thing that you need is to know when things are up and down. Sounds simple. It's why the product has the name, What's Up. And many of our customers, that's exactly what they buy the product for. Many of our customers use it as just a ping tool, believe it or not, where it can ping devices and report back on whether a device is currently up or whether it's down. It allows for your system administration team to respond more quickly to problems. It allows you to watch trends over time. We have, you'll see dashboarding capability and time filtering capability that allows you to see, how is this CPU doing in terms of percentage use over time, that sort of thing. One of our add-ons allows you to watch problematic traffic on your network using a protocol called NetFlow, which I'll get into. It allows you to maintain control over your switch router configurations, anything that we can access either by SSH a protocol or by SNMP. We can detect those configurations and we can even tell you when somebody has changed one of those configurations. And we also have the ability to do basic inventory of what's on your network. So these are just some of the main reasons why you would use a product like this. Now, who's our end customer? Our end customer are generally small to medium-sized businesses, and the purchase usually goes through system administrators, IT directors, sometimes as high as the CEO, but not always. Anybody like that. Why What's Up Gold? It installs in minutes. So some of the big scary network monitoring tools out there take a lot more time. You can be up and running in What's Up Gold in a basic configuration in under an hour. The basic install takes 20 minutes and you can have it actually reporting back information within less than an hour. The product has the ability, and I'll go into it in a future slide, to discover your network. So if you don't want to, you don't have to tell the software what devices are on your network. We'll actually go out and scan your network and find the devices for you. It has the ability to monitor all standard protocols, be it SNMP, WMI, which is the Windows Management Protocol, SSH, things like that. Of course, it can do a ping. Everybody knows a basic ping. And as I said, some of our customers, that's as far as they go. It has an intuitive mapping capability, which you'll see some screenshots of that, so that you can actually get a real-time live view of what's happening on your network right now. Dashboarding capability I talked about. Has drag and drop dashboarding, very easy to create. It comes with a bunch of dashboards pre-configured, but it's very easy to create your own dashboard with lots of little mini, what we call wooglets, that allow you to set up what you want to see. We have things that we call add-ons or plugins that can be added to the product that do other things. NetFlow or flow monitoring, I talked about that a second ago. We have the ability to monitor virtual infrastructure, showing you the topology of how your virtual machines are connected. Say VMware, where you have a vCenter server, and then VMware hosts, and then the guests of those hosts. We have the ability to look into that. We have an application performance monitoring add-on that lets you look more deeply into products that you're monitoring, and I'll show you a little bit about that. Configuration management, I mentioned, that has the ability to keep track of switches and routers, their configurations, get you their configurations, push configurations, and that sort of thing. Wireless monitoring, we have the ability to monitor wireless devices and keep track of things like signal-to-noise ratio, and give you a general feel for the quality of the wireless network in your building. In cloud monitoring, we have the ability to watch a couple of pieces of cloud, both in AWS and in Azure. We have the ability to see, say, for example, on AWS, anything that comes from their CloudWatch API, you can set up monitors to watch things on their CloudWatch API. All of these things that we can monitor, we can alert on, as you might expect, report and alert on. We talked about dashboarding, but alerting is key. When we ask customers what's the most important thing about the product, alerting is actually the #1 thing, because when something bad happens, it's no good if they don't get an alert, be it a text message or an email message are the two primary ways that they get alerts. So without alerting, to most customers, the product is almost worthless. So that's a key thing to remember.
Can you trigger like webhooks and things like that?
What's that?
Like with webhooks, can you do that? I suppose you're triggering like you type a webhook in.
So a couple things you can do there. We have hooks into things like ServiceNow and OpsGenie. We have the ability to run a script as part of an alert, so that you could, using that script, reach out to something using a RESTful interface. And we're in the process of deciding whether we should just add a REST alert to make that even easier so you don't have to drop into a scripting language. Let's talk about where most journeys begin with What's Up Gold, and that's discovery. I talked a little bit about how it will reach out and find what's going on your network. You tell it, here's my network, and it goes out and finds what's there. It's highly customizable. You can put in IP address ranges, just subnet ranges. We even have something called the seed scan, which is very powerful. You point it at a router, one of your routers, and you tell it, how many hops out from that router do I want to discover? And so it will branch out from a core router across your network. Very powerful tool. Actually, if you have it branch out too far, it very quickly could get out to the internet, so you've got to be a little careful with that functionality. One thing to note that I always like to say, that credentials are very important in this process, just so you're aware how it works. If Discovery doesn't have the credentials to log into your devices, be it the ability to log into a switch or a router or a Windows machine, all you're going to get back is the ability to ping a machine. But if you give it credentials, and that's the first thing that we recommend you do during these discoveries, it will reach into the machine and then start to return very valuable information, like what are my disks and what percentage capacity do they have and are they full? What's my CPU utilization right now? What's my memory utilization right now? So you get the rich set of functionality so long as you tell the tool, how am I going to log into these particular devices on the network? And obviously, we have the ability to log into all sorts of different devices that you can set up. Once you've discovered your network, what we do is we create mapping. of the network. And there's an example of a map showing a topology that's a test network on our QA network. So it's got some funny bits that might not be on somebody else's network. But basically what you're seeing is how the various routers and switches are connected, and you're also seeing endpoints like servers and that sort of thing that are there. As you'd expect, things that are up are green, things that are down are red. Sometimes things go into an unknown state, and those turn out to be gray. That doesn't happen very much, but sometimes when something gets into an unpingable state, not on the network, it can go into an unknown state, and those things turn gray. So the mapping is pretty cool. We also have the ability to customize these maps. So if you want to have, say, on a NOC wall at a network operations center, a very customized view, say, with the map of the United States and various nodes around the United States, that's very easily done with the product. So it makes for a very nice NOC view. Let's talk about monitoring and alerting. I talked about how this is the bread and butter of the product. We have things called active monitors, and those are just testing things, whether something, the obvious one is ping, is it up or down? Testing things like, is a service running? I can hit a web page and see if there's a certain piece of text on a web page. I can test JMX statistics, for example, which is Java management extension statistics. There's various things I can do, and those are very simple polls where the answer comes back as yes or no. Is that service, is that website up and running right now? If it is, it's green. If not, it's red, and then an alert sequence would take place and send something like an email or send an SMS message. We have passive monitors. What a passive monitor means is when something comes to us. So the active monitor, we're reaching out and doing something to another machine. A passive monitor, other protocols like SNMP traps, when a switch sometimes will send a message out, we can interpret those and do something like send an alert when we get what's known as an SNMP trap from a switch. We also can get things like Windows event logs. Those will come in. Or logs, syslogs from switches and routers and Unix devices. We will take that information in and put it in the database. We also, yeah?
Are you running an agent?
No, this is agentless. So, but to be perfectly fair, those things would be running agents in and of themselves on the switches and the routers, but...
I was thinking the syslog from Linux.
Yeah, that's, I believe that's running an agent on Linux, but that would be sort of up to the end user, but it's not ours. It's not ours. So that's one of the things I should have specified at the beginning, that everything we're doing is agentless, but it does depend on the basic functionality that the manufacturers provide. Then we have performance monitors. These are the monitors that keep track of events or statistics over time using things like SNMP, which is, basic network protocol to ask a switch, what's your CPU utilization? What's your network bandwidth utilization on a certain port? WMI, Windows Management Instrumentation, that's Windows version, basically, of SNMP. I can ask a Windows box, what's your CPU utilization? What's your disk utilization? That sort of thing. We can alert based on thresholds for that, and we also keep historical data based on that. So you can have charts and graphs that show how those statistics moved over time.
You have custom monitors, so if I wanted to have a monitor for the Ipswitch applications, can you write custom monitor that will know how to talk to different type of service and get some different methods?
You can write custom scripts that will do that, yes. Yes. And I'm going to show you in a minute how we were able to monitor the basic statistics of an open edge server very quickly. But it was just the basics. To do something a little more sophisticated right now, you'd have to get into a script scenario. And then the alerts we talked about, email, SMS, just having a web alarm, which, believe it or not, a lot of our customers use on the screen. And have a script can be an alert where I can kick off a script. A service restart can be an alert where if a service goes down, I can tell it when that happens to restart the service, a Windows service. And we even have integrations with Slack. I said Opsgenie and ServiceNow, so those can be the result of an alert that it will say open a ticket, a trouble ticket in one of these systems. Here is an indication of what some of the dashboarding looks like. It's just a screenshot. I wasn't prepared to do a live demo today, but what you've got here, if I can show you, is various, this is a pre-built report. You have columns, and they can all be moved around as you'd expect, just like any widgets these days that you see in reporting. And here's a palette up here of different reports that we have, or different what we call wuglets. These individual things are called wuglets, and those can be dragged and dropped onto the main page and saved for your own custom reports. I want to now go into a little bit of the add-on capabilities of the product. The first one I want to talk about is network traffic analysis. And this uses flow monitor protocol. Many switches and routers have the ability to send out summary data of what's going on their switch or router. So things like what network traffic is going across the ports of the switch or of the router. What protocols are running across the ports of that router or switch. And we have the ability to report on those things and keep track of those things over time for as long as that you want. This is a very powerful tool. It's our most popular add-on to the product. Provides a lot of value to network administrators to see what's really going on their network. So the stuff I talked about before, where we were monitoring the network and with pretty charts and graphs, yeah, we have interface information on those pretty charts and graphs, basically telling you going up and down, you know, am I at 10%, 20%, 30%. But this takes it to the next level. This actually tells you who is using that bandwidth. It tells you what they're doing. What protocols are they running? Are they running HTTP protocol? Are they running the SMB Microsoft File Server protocol? Are they running FTP? And it also tells you who they're talking to. So we have a chart on here called conversations, top conversations. Who is having the most communication on the network? It has the ability to find some dangerous traffic like Tor traffic. And it has the ability, what's really cool, is it has the ability to drill down if I see how much HTTP is being used on one of the pie charts, and I see that HTTP is being used by is utilizing a lot of bandwidth, I can filter that pie chart by HTTP, and then all the other reports in NetFlow will update and only show me HTTP data, who's using it, so I can drill into who's using all that HTTP bandwidth. So that's very powerful. A lot of times when the network gets congested, a network administrator just wants to find out who is doing all this talking, and that's what this add-in does. And it's really it's actually my favorite part of the product. Not that matters to you, but
Veiled warning for progress employee.
What's that?
That's not a veiled warning for progress employee.
Right. Configuration management, another popular add-on to the product. Again, focused on switches and routers, has the ability, all switches and routers have configurations like what's my IP address, who am I allowed to talk to, those sorts of things. What's the username and password that I log into the device. We have the ability to look into switches and routers and get that configuration out. We can back them up. I think here's one of the things that I ask a lot of people when I'm at conferences, and I ask a lot of network administrators or system administrators who are responsible for servers and routers, and I'm like, how many people are backing up their servers? And everybody's hand goes up. And then I say, how many people are backing up their networking equipment? And only about a quarter of the people in the room raise their hand. So they would be in a world of hurt if they lost those configurations. The configurations on these routers and switches are getting very complex these days, and you need a way to back them up. That's one of the things that configuration management does. It allows you to look at differences, and I'm going to show you a video in a minute about how you can see differences between different switches and routers configuration. If two machines are supposed to have nearly identical configurations, and I can look at their diff and see that they really don't, then something's wrong. Somebody's done something wrong. Has the ability to alert somebody if a configuration changes. So let's say you have a rogue system administrator that changes a switch in the middle of the day when they shouldn't have. You can be alerted when that happens. It has the ability to audit configurations for, there's a bunch of audit rules in the system that say, check to make sure that encryption is turned on all these devices. Check to make sure that the passwords are encrypted, and run a report that tells me when things are out of spec and aren't following the right rules that I've set up. And it has the ability to push configuration changes to the routers and switches, which is one of its most powerful capabilities. Virtual monitoring, we monitor your virtual infrastructure. Obviously, we can monitor any virtual machine like it's a regular machine, because virtual machines generally appear to the world as regular machines. But we also can see into the topology of how the virtual machines have been set up. Take VMware, where there's a vCenter server that's running the whole lot of your virtual machines. You can see that. You can see the hosts that are attached to this vCenter. You can see then the guests that are attached to the hosts. You can run a report that will show you for a particular host on one side, it'll show you how its CPUs, disks are going, and then it'll show you on the other side all the different hosts that are connected to it. So we're actually looking into VMware and to Hyper-V, Microsoft's Hyper-V, to get you that extra layer of information of what's going on in that infrastructure. Another add-in that we have is application performance monitoring. And this gives us the ability, remember how I said these active monitors where I can reach out to a device and ask it a question like, is your disk okay? Is your CPU okay? Yes, no. Do I want to send an alert? What application performance monitoring does is it amalgamates a whole bunch of those measurements into a single monitor and allows you to look at a application like Sitefinity, like OpenEdge, as a fully functioning application, and looking at different statistics all at once, and alerting if one of the statistics goes down or goes into a bad threshold state. So you're actually looking at a quick application that we started monitoring of OpenEdge, and we're monitoring 5 or 6 statistics that are coming out of OpenEdge that some of the engineers at Progress helped us figure out, since we don't know OpenEdge very well. We have the notion of profiles, where you can set up profiles for these applications. What kind of statistics do I need to monitor for OpenEdge? I save a profile, and then I can copy that profile over multiple machines and use it for other applications. So that's and of course, all the alerting and monitoring or measurements, that sort of thing comes along with this as well. And because, one last point, because you can create your own profiles, we were able to do the open edge, again, with just a little bit of help from your engineers in a matter of minutes. Once we had the system set up, we had to get, we have a virtual machine set up now in Burlington, our office, with open edge running on it. We never had that. And our WhatsUp Gold server is pointing at that open edge server, looking for these particular statistics. So those are the basics of what the product can do. Discovery, monitoring, alerting, reporting. Add on to that, add-on functionality like the ability to monitor net flow or flow monitor, the ability to do configuration management, which allows you to control in more deeply switches and routers, the ability to look into VMware at a more deep level. Those are the basic things that the product does and where our customers get the value from the product. As I said in the beginning, sometimes some customers, all they want is what's up and what's down, but more and more of them are taking advantage of these advanced features. It's not enough, and their management wants reports, which we can schedule reports and send them out on a daily basis that shows how the network is operating for the past few days. So the manager can get a report every morning and said, how did we do yesterday? And it will tell him how we did. I just wanted to take, and how am I doing on time? Have I got, you're the timekeeper? 1:30? Have I got 20 minutes left? Yeah. Okay, good. I won't use it all. I want to show you some of the new stuff that we brought out in the last month in 2019. One was what we call an APM redesign. That application performance monitoring that I just talked about was that ability to monitor applications holistically. Need to set it up and tell you that we had changed our UI in 2017 to a pure web-based UI. We had a web-based UI before. It was old, wasn't very attractive. We added this new, more modern UI. The application performance monitoring UI stayed in the old world for various technical reasons, and we've just recently brought it up to speed to make it much easier to create and to monitor applications. So I just want to there it is. Go over some of the things that we changed. So if I go to set up a profile, this is all new. Trust me when I say that the old style was very clunky. It's showing the different profiles that are built into the product that you can use to set up an application in minutes. These are all the different profiles that come pre-configured. If I want to monitor SQL Server, we have a pre-configured set of statistics. Now I want to add a new monitored application. Say I want to monitor a Windows IIS. I've already picked IIS. I picked a single machine you saw on that drop-down. And right now, these are all the different statistics that it's checking for IIS that we say you should be checking for IIS for this application stack. Then I'm going to just run a poll now. And this was the device that we were setting up, and it's ready to go. And then we have a dashboard that you can watch over time, how that application is doing. Everything is up and running. These are all the different statistics that are being monitored for that device. We also have the ability to discover applications, reach out onto the network. Just how I said we discover machines and the basic things they do, we can discover whole applications. So here I want to discover all the IIS machines in a given group of machines on my network. So I've chosen IIS and I'm running a scan, and it's found 10 or 15 devices on the network that are running IIS. And if I want to start monitoring one, I very simply just click the Start Monitoring button, and it goes through that same process of testing that device for IIS. And once it's ready to go, you can simply add it to the system, and it will now be monitored for the whole stack. This is just showing you that we've changed the dialog boxes to match the new formats. Kind of boring stuff, but just to show you that it's in the that we've done. So we took my purpose for showing that was twofold. One is to let you know that we brought it into the more modern UI paradigm. That probably doesn't excite you very much, but I did want to show you just how application monitoring works in general and how fast it is to set up the monitoring of a new application. The next one I want to show is live activity. What we've done is we've added down here in the system area, we've added indications of what's going on in the system. We've had customers complain that the system just sits there all day, and if something bad happens, we get an alert. But we're not sure, is it really running? What is it doing right now? So we wanted to expose the actual inner workings of the system. So what you're going to see is as things happen in the system, as we are reaching out and polling devices and checking things, there's actual indicators that show here. All very useful for NOC. And if you click on it, it takes you to a report that shows you all the events that have been happening over the past several minutes. And I can also change it to be a live feed. This is showing us all the stuff that's going on. So why is this useful? It's useful and I can change the severity. So I say I only want to see critical warnings. And there's we've just generated some critical warnings for this demo. There's a few things that are showing up as critical. This is important for a couple of reasons for customers who want to see what's really going on under the covers in the system, but it's also important for our technical support to help diagnose problems when they're on the phone with customers. Configuration archives. So if you recall, configuration management is all about monitoring switches and devices for their configurations, being able to back them up, being able to check whether they are following audit rules, that sort of thing. What we've added now, there was a problem in the system where you kind of needed to know what devices you were backing up. We aren't backing up all devices. We back up the devices you tell us to back up. Somebody might have 50 switches that they don't care about, but they want to back up their routers. So we let them back up just their routers. The problem with the UI is you had to know which routers to go look for and to go find the configurations if I wanted to check out what the configuration was. So what we've added to the product is the ability to see all the configurations for all the devices that you're currently monitoring for that. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So we're going to go to the configuration management menu item. And this is the configuration archives. It's showing two different devices. I can simply, if I want to, one of the features of this is I can download the configuration if I need it. And there it is. I realize it's hard to see. That's the configuration of that router that we backed up for you. The other thing that we can do is, this is something we never could do before, is we can run a diff against multiple devices. I can compare the configurations of two different devices, so that's what you're seeing here. There's lots of differences between these two. That's just for the purpose of the demo. Oftentimes, you'd probably be diffing devices that should be very close. If somebody has a stack of switches in a networking closet, and they're all the same brand, you would expect that the configurations of those machines were very similar. They might just have a few differences, like what the IP address is, or what the name of the device is, the DNS name. But this would show you what the big changes were. Remember how I said that configuration management has that ability to alert when a change happens. Well, one of the first things I might want to do is say, switch X just had a change. I know switch X should be kind of like switch Y. Let me run a diff against those two and see what gets changed, and as if it's something that I am worried about. Custom maps. As I said, you have the ability to customize the maps. Particularly useful for NOC views, set up which kind of, sometimes people have complicated networks, but they only want to show parts of the network on a wall board in a NOC that they're interested in. So we've had for a while the ability to have custom views where you can lay out the map exactly as you want it. We've just added a couple of new features to it. Believe it or not, the feature I'm going to show you was one of the most requested features for this last release cycle. What you see in here to do a custom map is there's a palette of activities, kind of like a drawing tool. It's not kind of like a drawing tool, it is a drawing tool. We have the ability to show a graph paper behind it or turn it off. And we have the ability now to snap to grid. This is new. We did not have that before. Before it was just free-flowing, and people were struggling trying to set things up exactly, in line and that sort of thing. So now, if they want to align devices, they just keep snap to grid on, and no problem. As you'd expect, you can also, use the drawing tools to draw rectangles, circles, clouds, that sort of thing, and that also respects the snap to grid. And then one minor thing that came in from many customers that we added, believe it or not, was simply the ability to change the names of the machines from uppercase to whatever the natural case was built in when they entered the devices. And so we have that ability. Sounds like a minor thing. It's what we call a delighter. It's something that a lot of customers asked for, so we now have that. Now, here's one that's going to get everybody excited. Maintenance mode. This was pretty much our most requested feature of the recent release cycle. We have something called maintenance mode. Often when a system goes into trouble and into a trouble state, an administrator starts to look at it. He doesn't want alerts to keep sending out to his fellow workers. He wants to say, hey, I know there's something wrong with this device. I'm going to put it into maintenance. But what we never had was the ability to have a reason recorded for maintenance. So sounds like a minor thing, but I put on here the things that are most requested. I'm putting that device into maintenance, and now we've added this maintenance reason field. I'm just saying test reason there. You see that it goes yellow. Things that are yellow are in maintenance, so you get an easy view of things that are in maintenance mode. I can now go to the state change timeline for this device. These are all the things that have happened to this device. And over there on the right, the message shows what the reason was for being put into maintenance. So a system administrator's colleague might see why it was put into maintenance. We also added a devices in maintenance report that has the reason on it, and also just as important, which was also requested, is it has the name of the user that put it into maintenance. So again, somebody's fellow worker would know who to go and talk to about, why is that device in maintenance? And just to keep me honest, I'm going to take that device out of maintenance. It goes gray for a second into an unknown state until we poll it again. And then it goes green again. And if we look at the report again, nothing in maintenance. So that's a report that system administrators will look at, like when they come in the morning and say, are there any items that went into maintenance mode overnight by the night crew? And why were they put into maintenance? Who put them into maintenance? Sounds like a simple thing, but very important, most requested feature. Okay, I'm done.
I assume your process has to be process-oriented, put something into maintenance before you start looking around, right?
That would be up to you know, the company would have, you know, a run book or whatever. This is how they do things. So yeah.
Do you have a rescue guide that you can call to get the status of devices? So basically, here's what I'm thinking. I'm wondering if I could use this to monitor our build and test infrastructure. But before I would want to have the build procedures run and test procedures run, I may want to check to see, are all the databases that are necessary for this test up and running.
Mm-hmm.
So if something like this is monitoring of infrastructure, then I can basically call it to get a very quick health check. Yeah, where to bring light.
Right.
Can you do that sort of thing?
Well, you can't do, I couldn't sort of do it at the beginning of a run, if that's kind of thing. If you're saying, you know, almost run a batch file and tell me if these 5 things are up.
Yeah, that's something like the guy just called and said, this set of services available. So
Yeah. One way that you could do that is if you actually got into the database, so that some of our customers will actually look at the schema of the database and you could run a query to get that data. So that is possible.
Okay.
Yep. We don't, we try to keep most customers from doing that. People have to sign an NDA to get the schema, and we tell them that if they do anything that breaks the database, they're on their own. But that way it is possible. Particularly when it's a read situation like yours, that's much healthier. Once people start to write to the database on their own, all bets are off. I should have said at the beginning, the product is a Windows Server product, but of course it can monitor anything that responds to basic protocols like ping, SNMP, et cetera. So that gets Linux, gets network switches and that sort of thing. The product ships with SQL Express from Microsoft, so you don't have to pay for that. That's their sort of lower end database server. But of course, if you have bigger needs, it will work with any external Microsoft SQL server. Any other questions?
So just for my own point of reference, because I've not seen this product, but it's very similar to Basler PRTD.
Yes, it is.
So in terms of, if you were to download this, what do you have for trial or?
So right now, if you download it, you get the whole product, and it's a 14-day trial.
Okay, so it's time limited, not sensor limited.
Correct. It's, is it unlimited sensors? It's at least 2,500. It's unrestricted? Unrestricted. Yeah.
Worth noting, we do have a longer term, 1-year license for a 5-device version of it called the what's a cool starter edition. It will allow you, it has all capabilities, but you can only assign 5 monitors. So it's a limited utility unless you've got a very small network. However, we do recommend it for people who want to do something like just a straight discovery of their network because it's effective.
One of the things I should add now that you brought up PRTG, PRTG is one of our main competitors, also SolarWinds. They license differently than us, so we're unique in the industry in that we license by device. So a switch to us is one thing, where in PRTG's case and SolarWinds' case, they charge by every little thing that you're monitoring. So say a switch. Yeah, and if, say, a switch has 24 ports and you want to monitor each of those ports, that's 24 things to them. To us, that's one thing. Yeah. So it can get out of control pretty quickly, but with us, that's just one device.
And I assume you work better if the device has SNMP enabled, or if you'll work without it?
Well, we'll do ping without it. If it's a Windows box, we'll do WMI without it. But yes, SNMP to get any sort of advanced info. Well, Windows WMI will give us almost all the same stuff. But SNMP, yeah, you really need that enabled and give us the credentials to get in, to get the most power out of the box. Otherwise, it becomes just sort of a ping tool. Any other questions?
For monitoring, you have to have all done over the network, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you mention if this then that?
We do have a link into If This Then That, if you've played with that internet service. So you can use that as an alert that will go off and run a script that's on the if this then that network. Just one of the things, kind of like ServiceNow, Ops Genie. There are various things that we're hooking into out on the internet. Anything else? Well, great. Thanks a lot.